Thank you. I have a quick question, and it borders around the challenges of SMEs doing business in Ghana. Beyond access to finance, as the panelists have alluded to, there are also matters bordering around taxation. And you know, if you go to other countries, even some of our neighboring countries here, SMEs doing business with turnover below 55,000 USD are exempted from corporate tax. So beyond what we've said, how is government helping these SMEs? Because if an SME is exempted from corporate tax, corporate income tax, it means that money can be plowed back into the business and at the same time grow the business. And over the years, it could move from SME and become a bigger company. So what are we doing, especially from a government perspective? And what would be the advice from a Ghana perspective? I had the conversation around the AFTA being in Ghana. Yes, AFTA can be in Ghana, but if you look at it in terms of the benefit, it's in Ghana, but how competitive are Ghanaian businesses in the African continent, looking at the cost of doing business? Because if my production cost and other related costs make me uncompetitive, then how will I be able to take advantage of AFTA?
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Okay, we'll take an answer. Who wants to give it a go? I had a name in mind, but I was actually thinking about Yao. No. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm thinking about it because you've had an opportunity to look at comparative analysis of some of the data he referred to. And I know that in your practice you're not allowed to offer your take, but I think from an informed place, maybe there may be learnings that we can all take away with it.
Yes, so I think you know my direct answer is I'm not the Minister of Finance, so I don't give tax concessions.
We agree.
Yeah. So now that the IMF money is in, and my boss in his keynote address mentioned it, and it's something that we discussed extensively, it's an opportunity for government to take another look at some of the taxes that have been introduced that are likely to affect the productive sectors of the economy. We were looking at addressing our issue of low revenue base, and we failed to think through the unintended consequence of some of the taxes that were introduced. And so it is now time for us to take another look at some of the taxes that were introduced that are likely to affect the productive sectors of the economy. It will hamper our growth and the recovery after COVID. And I think it's an advice to governments. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. See, he's not the Minister of Finance, but he's filled with a lot of information that can help. Any more questions? Okay, I have just one final one. And this, I think it's just an idea, and I'd like to get everyone's thoughts in 30 seconds on this. It has to do with one of the biggest challenges that SMEs seem to always talk about, access to finance. In Ghana, we now have some work being done on the tier 2 and 3 to allow that to go into the alternative stock as money that could be then used to capitalize small businesses. Is that enough, in your opinion, a way to create a level playing field so more and more SMEs can, get to play in a space where they have a chance of thriving? I'm going to start from the very end. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that? Or any crazy, great ideas that we probably need to think about to make financing accessible to SMEs?
Look, as mentioned earlier, and this is a good question, but access to finance is the crucial problem in any business. I mean, the day I meet somebody that says, oh, I got great access to finance, I'll show you somebody that's not telling the truth, okay? And it's a problem everywhere in the world. I would say the real problem, though, is the access to the market, okay? And my colleague here, Yao, was raising something really important, and that is one of the best things we can do as stakeholders in development in Ghana is create new markets for businesses in Ghana. Okay, so if Yao can bring a 10,000 person TV factory or sawmill or rice plantation, there's going to be all sorts of SME linkages, opportunities, and new markets for these SMEs to access, which will make their business plans much more bankable, which will make the financing much more bankable. But we need these anchor tenants, okay? And I'm going to put on my Vietnam hat and my Bangladesh hat, where I spent the last 11 years. They're out there pushing for FDI and large-scale folks to come into the country, knowing their SMEs will benefit from the trickle-down. And that's the real thing, the way they're thinking is that let's create markets for our SMEs in our country, and then the money will come.
Good idea. I think that deserves a round of applause, but no one bothered to. Oh, finally, yeah. Yao, your final thoughts on the same question.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague here. As GIPC, we are doing something similar to what is best practice in places like Vietnam and the Asian subcontinent. I think for us also, the elephant in the room here is big business. I think we've focused the conversation pretty much on SMEs, but I can see a few of the Ghana Club 100 companies here, some of the large corp that are facing some severe headwinds, particularly around exemptions, around utilities, around land, and so on, which is what our aftercare division at GIPC established in 2020 supports businesses to identify and potentially overcome. Now, if those large industries, big businesses aren't doing well, then there is a de-link with the impact on the SMEs. And so as GIPC, we continue to firstly attract capital to such large industry within our priority sectors of the country, and we have a figure, and at the same time also galvanizing inward reinvestment. So ensuring that the companies here have the tools and incentives to work and make profits and therefore reinvest the money in Ghana. We believe that that will also cure some of the disadvantages that the SME sector are currently facing.
Wonderful. And Tolu?
Yes, I was thinking about the question, and I think I'll probably come at it from another angle. So one of the themes of the summit is economic sovereignty, right? And this is where I feel that there's going to need to be a lot of support from government. Now that the government has the money coming in, there's an opportunity to look at the economy and think strategically, what do we need to do to strengthen our weaknesses, and our weaknesses to external shocks. And of course, if you go back to the foundation, it all comes down to a few things. One is food security, food resilience, I would say. So food security, energy resilience, and then education. And then, if the government is looking at these specific areas, there are lots of job opportunities for SMEs. So like I was saying, sometimes it's about access to the market. And because government is now on a mission to kind of shore up these areas, there's lots of work that can be done in the agriculture sector. So not just, the planting of the crops and the growing the crops, but then also the whole value chain as well. That can produce lots of opportunities. Infrastructure. We need to build our roads. We need to build better roads. We hear stories of, crops in the north, not being able to get down south fast enough. Build infrastructure. And I think even if you're talking about AFTA, you want to also start to think strategically about, if we're going to do Africa intra-trade, we're going to have to also think about, in the future, more high-end manufacturing. And to get there, you're going to need to have a highly skilled and educated force. So we need to invest a lot in education. We need to invest a lot of vocational education to give people the skills of the future, which will then make Ghana attractive to have that kind of manufacturing, which could then open up opportunities for us to be that hub to the rest of Africa. Because now it's what you want to buy in Europe, you can also buy it here. And because we're by the coast, it really gives us a very geographical trading advantage. So from that end, I think if the government takes the lead in that aspect, you will be able to find those opportunities for the SMEs. Opportunities will be popping up, and then you just bring them along. So I think that's one thing to consider.
Thanks, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So just to answer your question directly, I think it's a very good initiative that we're using the Tier 2 and Tier 3 to support the capital market growth. For obvious reasons, the debt market is going to be slow and has been slow because of what has happened in the bonds market, but we have to activate the equities market, and this is a very good initiative. My only recommendation is, one, we should give the capital to those who need the capital. Not all SMEs need capital, we've said it. And a friend of mine who used to run a financial institution told me one story that anytime someone calls and the person says, I need money, the first question he asks the person, when you need the money? If any of them responds, I need the money like yesterday, those guys don't pay. Anytime he lends money to those guys, they don't pay. Because they had no plan of what to use the money for. Those who pay are those that will tell you, I have ordered for some goods. They are arriving in the next 2 weeks, next month, and I need this money to settle that. Those guys pay on time. So not everybody needs it. And secondly, we should also support people who are ready to do something productive. A friend of mine shared something, with all due respect, a West African country, I'll not mention the name, that anytime you give money to a lot of SMEs in his country, the men, what they think about is marrying a second wife, a third wife, a fourth wife. Those guys do not need the money. So we should identify what they are actually going to use the money for and support them. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Yao. Finally, Linda Kwao.
Thank you very much. From where I sit, it's difficult to advise on financing SMEs, but what I would say is if you don't have the money to start a big business, you can start small by registering a business name. If you're a Ghanaian, then when you are ready to get funding, you can convert any time that you want to a company limited by shares. You can have another person come on board as a second director. You can be the secretary if your qualification meets the requirement, and you can be the sole shareholder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda Kwao, State Attorney at the Office of the Register of Companies, Mr. Yao Apialate of Deloitte, Tolu Kwekulakro, Executive Director of the UN Compact Network in Ghana, Mr. Yao Efriye, Deputy CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, and Mr. Carl Kjellhofer, Senior Regional Manager, IFC, here in Ghana. Thank you to my esteemed panel. A round of applause as they take their seats. Let's welcome our Master of Ceremonies back. I'm Kweku Inshra Ado. I am a co-host of the Asasi Breakfast Show, and it's on 99.5 here in Accra. Tune in tomorrow, follow us on Facebook, and give me your feedback. God bless you all.
That was the Economy and Ease of Doing Business session. Time check is exactly 5:36, and we've barely scratched the surface. We have 3 more panels to go. In the spirit of democracy, I want us to vote. We have the digital economy session. Then we have the business transformation and becoming an African multinational company session. And finally, we have the state-owned companies session. How many should we do, and which should we do? 1. So please, by show of hands, all those in favor of the state-owned panel, state-owned companies panel. Okay. Show by hands, digital economy panel. And show by hand those in favor of the radically transforming your business and becoming an African multinational panel. This is where we need the electoral commissioner. But I guess it's quite unanimous. The digital panel is clearly in demand. And so what we're going to do is we want to close at 6. So this will be direct. This will be straight to the point. The closing ceremony will be done by the Minister for Public Enterprises, the Honorable Joseph Kujo, who joins us. And so right about now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my moderator, Samuel Amano, in the company of his eminent panel, Mr. Selomana Devo, CEO of MTN, Mr. Romeo Bujev is here, Andrew Techiapea, Wole Oyeniran, Angela Wambura, Mr. Eric Osiakwan, Mr. Amar Deep Hari, Emmanuel Kwating, and Dr. Albert Ejibwe-Siakon.
Thank you, thank you. How many of you still awake? If you're awake, show by hands, I'm awake. You can stand up for a little bit and just shake, stretch. You can come forward if you want to. This is going to be very digital. You can actually suspend in the air as well if you want to. My panel. Exciting. Actually, there's a rule. Nobody leaves during my panel. So please, if you're planning to leave, I forbid you. Thank you very much. I have great minds on the stage. It's going to be exciting. All right, we're about to start. My name is Samuel Amano, your last moderator, and I hope that you take one thing out of this session. We're not going to talk too much. We only have 30 minutes, as I've been told, and we want to make sure we use your time wisely, very, very wisely. I lead a business for a company called Blue Space Financial Cloud. We build products for the regulated entities around Africa. So you've heard of PAPS, you've heard of the insurance companies, you've heard of the banks, the stock exchanges. We help to digitize their operations, and we're here in Ghana, in Nigeria, and Ajman in the UAE, helping businesses to grow, to bring digital transformation to their business. I'm joined by great, wealthy people. I'll start from my extreme right. Mr. Wally, if you can introduce yourself, what you do. You have 30 seconds to tell me exactly what you do, what problems you solve in this country. And then right after you, my esteemed lady in the middle, Angela. Sorry, actually, I should have passed to Angela first. She traveled all the way from Kenya. So, Angela, you go first. Wally is still warming up. So go for it, Angela.
Thank you. Ladies first, thank you.
Yeah, ladies first, ladies first.
I traveled from Kenya, and I think I'm still on the Kenya time zone.
Yeah?
Yeah, so thank you very much. My name is Angela Wambura Birech. I'm the Deputy COO for Software Group. I'm also the Director for Optimization and Delivery at Software Group. Software Group is a global technology company who specializes in coming up with technology solutions. We also provide advice to customers, specifically financial service providers, as well as government and the public sector. And we come up with solutions that help them to get on a path of growth, and we support them in their digital transformation initiatives. So working with FSPs, some of the challenges that we have seen that they are experiencing is, how do they replace existing legacy solutions. And where we come in is, because we know replacing legacy solutions is quite time-consuming as well as costly, we provide a solution called DigiWave, which we build on top of these legacy solutions. DigiWave, is a solution that has a modular approach. That way, the companies are able to, grow their business.
Don't give all the secrets away. Hold some of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I'd like to pass the baton to Wale now. He's warmed up. He rolled his eyes. He's very, very warmed up. So, Wale, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure anyone who's asleep is awake now. I hear my voice does that. Hello. So I'm Wale Oyeniro, a partner at Deloitte. I lead technology consulting across the entire West African region, which of course includes this beautiful country, Ghana. Came in from Lagos this morning for this. Not as long as your trip, but I traveled all the same.
Thank you, Wale. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Amar, if you can share a little bit about who you are, what you do, that would be much appreciated.
So my name is Amar. I lead IPMC. We are mainly into data centers, software development, and IT training.
Excellent. Amar, you did a very good job. And I'll pass the baton to Mr. Quatin to also introduce himself. He won an award today.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Quatin. I manage Main One Ghana business in Ghana. So Main One basically is a connectivity and digital infrastructure business. We have businesses across West Africa. Recently, we've been acquired by Equinix, which is basically the mother of digital infrastructure. So we have businesses across the whole of the world. Thank you.
Awesome. And then the last but not the least.
Thank you. Selom Adadevo, CEO of MTN. And for those who don't know what MTN is or what we do, we put smiles on faces of everyone, everywhere you go through technology. Thank you.
I love that. Let's give them a round of applause. So, Mr. Selom, I want smiles. Digital industrialization, what is that? Because I've heard digital transformation, I've heard going digital. What is digital industrialization for the audience?
I have no idea. What does it mean?
I love that. I love that.
So let me take a shot at this. Look, I think a lot of the times when we talk about transformation, we focus on individual companies to transform. So we go through this whole process of transformation, and a lot of it is focused on individual companies. But you have to have multiple individual companies transform before you can get this blue sea effect, right? So industrialization, at least from how I understand it, is essentially having an entire ecosystem becoming digitalized. And this is one of the things that MTN is quite excited about. So in 2020, when COVID hit, for those of you who remember COVID, it was a deadly pandemic, by the way. So when COVID hit, we at MTN realized that becoming a digital operator, which was essentially around transformation, wasn't enough because the ecosystem around us in itself wasn't digitizing. So our new strategy, which is Ambition 2025, which essentially is focused on ecosystem digitalization, which is effectively industrialization, is geared at doing exactly that. And the role we see ourselves playing is to become platform players across 5 platforms, so the ecosystem can accelerate its own digitalization to get to this point of industrialization. So I'll pause there for now, and then I'm happy to share more if needed. Thank you.
Interesting. For those of you in the public, in the audience that may not understand what digital industrialization is basically taking the advancements in technology, bringing that into industry, manufacturing, the likes, and adopting some of the processes that the manufacturing companies have learned and bring that back into our industry. So it's a fusing and also an ecosystem play. And what I want to say is that a lot has been said in Ghana. Fiber to home, Wi-Fi, you name it, software companies, data centers. But yet in Ghana, there's still a lot of paperwork. What can we do? Deloitte. In public sector, private sector, there's still a lot of printing going on. There's still a lot of going to a branch to get simple things done. The banks are still struggling. They don't work on weekends, some of them. At 4 o'clock, they are done. your monies are still stuck in the bank. What are we doing wrong in this digital industrialization effort?
I would say anything is being done wrong.
Okay.
I would just say that what you see is a symptom of a deeper issue. The public sector issue versus the private sector issue are not the same. Public sector may be more of a political will to change, which may not exactly be there. A lot of people derive their power by how many files they have in their desks locked up and access to information only they have access to. Taking that away will be a battle that could become a death royale. So that's the issue on that side. So political will, if it exists, can transform that sector almost overnight because it's also command and control. It does exactly what its leaders say once they're able to answer everyone's individual what's in it for me question, which is that sector. The private sector is a legacy problem. If you look at banking, a lot of investments are made in legacy infrastructure, monolithic platforms that are not exactly attuned to the agility and flexibility that the digital era requires. And the fact is, these are sunk costs. And everyone is saying, before I start investing in something new, bright and flashy, have I really, really sweated this asset? As a consequence of that, they tie themselves down. It's called technical debt, for those who are familiar with the term. They tie themselves down to those investments and reduce their flexibility to be able to adopt, which is why the fintechs are ahead of everyone, because they don't have the legacy.
Right.
They operate in the same environment, but they're doing dramatically different and fantastic things. And banks are saying, I want to be like a fintech, but those shackles are still on their legs. So until those shackles are released, there's going to be a bit of a challenge to be able to have that industrial flavor of digital in legacy institutions.
So stay on it. Are you saying the public sector sees the problem, but there's no political will with all the IMF conversation? They don't want to change?
Yes. Does anyone disagree?
So we're not really ready to change, basically.
Ready is a relative word. I think willing is more of the term rather than
So
ready.
we're not willing to change.
Correct.
Interesting. And across this panel, I've seen investments pouring in from the States. We have Equinix coming in to buy the asset of Main One. How is Main One trying to monetize this and advance this industrial digitization when the government is not willing to adopt digital? We have a national data center, NITA, which is supposed to be thriving, right? But it's not, right? I clearly say it's not. It needs to grow. What are you going to do to compete with public sector? They're the largest consumer of IT. How are you trying to get the private sector to adopt digital on your side?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So I'll start from where you ended. I mean, in terms of competing with public sector, I think our approach is not to compete with public sector. Our approach is to get a platform, a solution that solves problem for both public sector and private sector.
The question is, the private sector is the biggest consumer.
Yeah.
How are you going to sweat your asset?
Yeah. So in the same so what I'm trying to approach is the solutions we're providing in digitalizing the processes of various sectors applies for both private and public sector. So our solutions are targeted at both the private sector and the public sector. So in terms of the private sector, of course, anybody that has a solution that, because basically, as I said earlier in my presentation, everybody has a plan to digitally transform one way or the other. To be able to do that, you need to move from point A to point B. And as part of that, Main One comes in one way or the other. And that's how Equinix comes. So Equinix, as a major digital infrastructure business, and of course bringing investment here, our approach is to expand what we currently have, to expand more and build more facilities in businesses in Ghana and West Africa, and then bring in both the private sector and the public sector. Currently, we work with both of them. We actually work with, even though there's NITA, we still work with public sector because you remember that any solutions that people normally provide in the digital realm, normally we want to have redundancy. So there's always what they call a primary and a DR, right? So our approach is that, of course, by all means, the public sector can work with NITA, but there is always a requirement for a DR, and that's how we are able to work with the public sector.
Interesting. Thank you for that. One wise guy told me ICT actually stands for Ideas, Capital, and Talent. And if you're looking, at the Ghanaian ecosystem, we have a lot of ideas. You can see, I think the IFC guy said a lot of PhDs and all the smart people, but we're not able to bring the other two, capital and talent. IPMC, you've been running schools, and now it looks like ChatGPT is about to take your lunch. What are we going to do about talent in Ghana for digitizing the ecosystem?
Now, Samuel, foremost, I would like to comment upon that whether digitalization or not digitalization, if we want to become the superpower, or anybody who wants to become the superpower, we need to become a China. We need to think like China. And China is, on the macro level, they may have as many policies, but on the micro level, it's simply about increasing the efficiency of each of their citizens, of each worker. And this is what digitalization brings. For digitalization to be successful, we have to bring that change in the mindset of our workforce. And the mindset, a simple change which is required, which in China happens through maybe that dictatorial communism, but in democratic countries such as Ghana, this mindset needs change through motivation, and that is to teach every worker how to become responsible and take ownership of whatever he does. In other words, creating leadership in our ranks. Unless we do not create this leadership in every rank of our organization, our digitalization efforts will fail. Now, coming to ChatGPT, shall I comment on that?
Yes, please.
So the whole world is scared about ChatGPT, but I love ChatGPT because I don't ever use it, and I start scolding everybody whoever wants to use it. But ChatGPT is a natural evolution of mankind, of the knowledge base which we have gathered in the last few years. It is a leapfrog jump which we are making. Simply, what is ChatGPT about is whatever knowledge we have put everywhere on the internet, the ChatGPT equation has captured, algorithm has captured all that knowledge and put them into one place. And then they are running the AI on that. If you will look at the ChatGPT database, it has been updated sometime last year. So if you ask some latest question, who is the president now or so-and-so country, ChatGPT may not be able to answer. So whatever ChatGPT does is all the information which we put. So this means we need not be scared about ChatGPT because it is all the knowledge which is there, but implementation of that knowledge is which is in our hand. And that implementation comes with creativity. The creativity, the ideas is what ChatGPT doesn't have. But as soon as we bring a new idea, a new creative idea, and we put it on the net, now ChatGPT knows. But it doesn't know the next ideas which we will bring. And human beings is about their creativity. And we will always be ahead of ChatGPT because of the creativity. One very short thing about the last thing I will say about ChatGPT is robotics, ChatGPT, automation is about bringing perfection. If you see whatever man creates, we want to create everything perfect. We even give warranty on it. This product, 10 years warranty, 20-year warranty. In the cabling system, it is lifetime warranty, the signal cables which we supply. So we even give lifetime warranties. But can the finest creation which God has created, which is human being, is there any guarantee on human being? No, there is no guarantee. So is God stupid or what? That the things which he creates them so imperfect. And those imperfect things, the things we create are perfect. So this is what we have tried to do with ChatGPT. We have tried to create something very perfect. But perfection, when we bring so much perfection, we lose the charm of life. Imagine, we bring perfection on beautiful faces on every lady. And we will not enjoy those beautiful faces anymore because
Hold that thought. Excellent. Give him a
It's
round
the-
of applause.
it's the
He's diverting.
imperfection.
I don't want him to go too deep into the other feminine creativity. We may be here for the whole day. So there are two parts to my question. Selam and Angela. Angela, the mic is ready for you. There seems to be software is eating the world, right? Anywhere you go, you're paying software licenses. If you're a Cap Farm, if you're Olam, if you are, what do you call it, agri-tech company, a fintech, you need software. Today, ChatGPT is also building code. You can literally generate software code to build your CRM, to build you a client registration or visitor registration app. How is your financial world going to be changed with this advent of this AI for Ghanaian businesses who rely on your software to do business?
Okay, so I would say from a software group perspective, well, a lot of the financial service providers are in the space of trying to find ways to transform their operations through technology. We as software group come in as the enablers and the advisors, right? And we work with these clients, financial service providers, to identify what are the challenges that they are facing. Could be they have this software and then there's this ChatGPT, and they are trying to see how do we compete with this new, chatbots and systems. So we work with them to try and identify what are some of the challenges and how can we then help them build or transform their operations to be able to still be able to provide financial services to their end clients, and even be able to reach a wider, create a wider outreach in the market. So I think we come in as advisors, we help them build strategies, and we help them implement these strategies, and we work with them along every step of the way. So I think that's where we come.
So there is human in the loop. ChatGPT can't do that, right?
ChatGPT can't do that. ChatGPT can't reach the unbanked, for example. ChatGPT, is limited, and as my panelists said here, all ChatGPT knows is what you put in, but human beings have the creativity. We have that. There's that human element that is missing, that if you don't put it in, ChatGPT doesn't know what to spit out. So I think we still play a role, and I think technology will still continue to play a role in this space.
Awesome. The last question goes to Selam. There's so much innovation out there. We run an innovation hub. I sit on the board of Ghana Tech Lab, Ghana Innovation Hub, Blue Space Innovation Hub. I see talent every day. Ghanaian youth, by the way, are one of the most smartest, but they need motivation, as IPMC CEO has said. How much capital are you going to put aside in the private sector to support these innovations that are coming up? Because clearly we need, public sector can't do that, right? There's not a lot of cash. IMF people have told us, right? What can we do on the private sector side to develop the talent further for greater adoption of digital? Because you need talent, and they need capital. They need to be trained. They need to be giving sandboxes. What are we going to do from a private sector side?
Yeah, look, very, very relevant point. And I mean, this is what we live to do, right? So, from my perspective, there are a number of things, and perhaps I can limit this to what we're doing at MTN, but also to encourage others on what they can do. I mean, the first thing is, the broader challenge is, one, our educational institutions have to sort of move more towards digital as a foundation, right? As setting the foundation. But failing that, or even if that's not enough, what organizations like MTN are trying to do is to invest in specific programs in education. So today, through our foundation, we're looking at different types of facilities, robotics labs, e-libraries, and things like that allow people to get into the digital realm from the education standpoint. But of course, that's a drop in the ocean when you look at how many institutions we as a single institution can touch. And this is why there's a campaign out there to say everyone else needs to look at this as critical for sustaining our growth as a country and ensuring our relevance into the future as a country as well. Because if we don't develop the youth, then even within the sub-region, we won't have any significant advantage or anything to sell. The second thing we're doing is to say, let's go beyond that, right? There are people who may not necessarily go through the traditional school system, but have great ideas and can utilize the same skill sets through some sort of entrepreneurial venture. So how do we allow them to gain more skills in that space of entrepreneurship? So again, this is where things like the ICT hubs that you mentioned came up. I mean, we're currently starting to dig the ground to build a new state-of-the-art ICT center. We cut the sword about a month and a half ago. And we're hoping this can touch, a lot of lives. We're looking at 100,000 jobs for the youth within the first 2 to 3 years. And that's quite significant. But again, if you look at the potential out there, a lot more has to be done. Today, we don't have these ICT centers in most regions. A lot of them are concentrated in Accra. So I guess the question is, how do we go out to other regions? And one of the features on this ICT hub we're investing in is to have some sort of remote access so we can actually impact lives without necessarily having the physical infrastructure in the other regions. But ultimately, we would have to get out there and get closer to people in those regions as well. So a lot of opportunities for us to be able to grow skills. The final piece of all of this is what we do through different initiatives at work that support entrepreneurship. We have a number of different programs. I don't want to go through all the list, where we're saying our focus specifically would be on digital skills for digital jobs. And this is the new sort of direction our foundation is also going. So ultimately, we're looking at ways to build capacity through almost every investment or initiative that we embark on. And you'd see a closer alignment to digital in everything we do going forward, because that's really where we feel the impact will be had. And if I take the point that one of my colleagues was making, once you start to think about Ghana as a country and not so much of an institutions, the opportunity within the sub-region is incredible. And if we can do this and lead the way on youth development around digital skills, Ghana's relevance within the AFCFTA will be significant. And we have a massive opportunity to tap into by doing this. So we're in, and I hope you are as well. Thank you.
Wow, give him a round of applause on my behalf. So, I mean, we're not done yet, right? Still on the money trajectory. Google and Accenture have said the digital economy is about 180 billion by 2030, right? In our market. That's a lot of money, right? Currently, we have guys that we're training. We just hired about 2,000 people as a mandate, but we can't find the qualities that Amar talked about in terms of placing. And we're dealing with insurance companies, we're dealing with banks, financial inclusion opportunities. I think the rural banking network, for example, they want to hire a lot of people to make sure financial inclusion gets to the far or the last mile, if you will. You need connectivity, you need the talent, you need labs. Deloitte, Amar, Angela, can you all say one thing? What can we do in concert from a private sector side, working with government, to create a coalition to make sure the youth really have something to do when it comes to ICT placement? Not the skills, not learning, but once they learn, they have to be placed on the job. Can we commit to something, a fund, to make sure there are allocations from private sector side, working with government to make this happen? So any contributions from your side, that'll be good. Club 100, fund, or whatever.
So, Samuel, once we create the quality of the workforce, we will be, they wouldn't have any dearth of jobs or opportunities available for them. The problem we have is our style of education, which has been rote learning from years and years. If we lay more focus on developing the understanding and creativity inside our education system, developing more of that, when this graduate comes out, everybody will look for that kind of graduate. And I'm happy to see that more and more, especially the students studying in Ghana who are now coming out, they have higher creativity. I just interviewed last week about 4 or 5 of fresh graduates from All Nation University, from Legon University, from IPMC College of Technology. And out of the 7 people I interviewed, not even one I was able to reject. it is just super talent Ghana is having. I'm surprised, and you will be able to see that just in the coming 2 or 3 years, especially the $600 million arriving and another 3 billion due, how much progress our country Ghana is going to make.
Ahmad, don't forget the last mile, right? Because that's one of the critical areas we're looking at talent for. So not in the cities, but in the far-flung areas where they're not included. What can we do to find placement opportunities?
Yes, that is what good organizations such as MTN is doing, and IPMC is joining them to do, is to spread more and more technology and ICT education in the rural areas. Any school in the rural area we see, whether it is government or private, we should find ways to put IT labs, computer labs, and bring digital literacy on each and every village in Ghana, and that is where the real progress is going to happen.
Excellent. Wale?
Just to echo what you just said, placement is not a problem when the skills have been developed properly. This has been our experience as well with our long-term collaboration with SAP, for example. Every year they produce about 50 graduates of their program that includes courses like design thinking, which is fundamental in triggering creative thinking and solutioning. So placement is not the challenge, but you talk about the rural areas, and we have to ask, what makes an area rural? It tends to be more of the infrastructure, and that is what we need to solve. Is the infrastructure challenge. You need to be able to get the technology in there in a way that's practical. That includes things like renewable energy to enable consumption of digital services, digital training, and even remote working out of rural areas once you have the right platforms in place. So maybe a fund for that to be used for, but that has to definitely be a PPP. It can't just be the private sector, that's for sure. Because infrastructure, at the end of the day, is the government's baby. But private sector is happy to collaborate from what I've seen over and over.
All right, Angela?
So I think, because part of the solutions that financial service providers would be, coming up with would be solutions that enable getting access or giving these people in rural areas access to finance, right? And part of that would be also trying to get or hire people in those rural areas or work with them to roll out, let's say, an agency network, for example, right? And you work with the rural, someone in the kiosk or in the merchant, in the supermarkets, for example, and onboard them as agents, and then they'd be able to become part of the workforce. In terms of, as my colleagues are saying here, about ensuring that within the universities or within the schools, you're giving the schools or working with government to ensure that they are able to roll out technology in some of the schools, and such in whatever practical way that is possible, such that these students have access to technology and are able to at least understand the basics, of what is possible. And then, some organizations, like even we in Software Group, what we tend to do also is we try to build in a workforce of interns who have just come in straight from school. We pull them in, we take them through a 3 to 6 months intensive program whereby they're trained, and then after 6 months then we're able to see, okay, who then can we fully on board, who then can we retain. And this is something I think if different companies, institutions can commit to, it's something we can be able to work with government to pull in this, these interns and work with them. But for FSPs, I feel, them, working with the merchants, the agents in the rural areas, and be able to give them access to opportunities for them to work would help.
Thank you very much. Selo? We have 2 seconds left, so...
2 seconds, okay.
2 seconds.
I think my time is done. But, and we know, so just very quickly, I think it's a very interesting question, and we do have a big opportunity here. For me, for starters, I would say there's the access to technology, and I think that point has been made and what we do about that. Obviously, as one of our ESG pillars, we have the Doing for People pillar, which is really giving access on one dimension in the rural communities. But a lot more has to be done, because even with that, I mean, today we have 99.5% population coverage for all our technologies, but that's not enough, because there is a barrier to actually getting devices, getting computers and all of that. And this is where perhaps a concept of some sort of fund comes in. I can't
Yes, I love the idea of the fund.
yeah, I can't really say for now what what that should look like, but I do think there is a social requirement to be able to bring the rural community up. So certainly, if, even if it's through a fund, whether it's a private-public partnership or a fund, but something is needed if we really have to get the rural communities on the same page as the urban. The third part, I will say, I mean, I think your question was around placement. I'm not so sure placement should be the ultimate goal. I do think if we're able to encourage or develop the rural folks to solve the local problems, then they create value locally. And there is a lot of power and opportunity in that as well. And if the mindset is to move them using technology to solve those problems, then I do think that we will find that a lot of them can create employment opportunities irrespective of placement. And that may be a more achievable objective and also more valuable to the country if we're able to groom entrepreneurs from the rural communities.
Device maintenance markets. Interesting.
Yeah, so I would like to take it from the angle of, there is already an existing collaboration sort of between private and public sector through GIFEC, which is the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication. We know that the mandate of GIFEC is mainly to take connectivity to the served and underserved and unserved areas, but also there are some things that GIFEC has been doing, of course, with the private sector, of course, in reaching out to the folks in the rural areas. So there's a lot of training ongoing with the folks. Not just training that lives like that, and I've witnessed some of these ones where they do train locals in the area on some businesses that they're doing, and then they teach them how to even market those businesses on social media currently. So through that social media, they get to get the market, and then they are then stationed at the local area. They don't need to move around. So I think that collaboration should go on. A lot of more has been going on with GIFEC. They have all these ICT labs they do and all that benefits the students. Girls in ICT that's being done, also championed by the Ministry of Communication. So most of these things are done, and I feel that as we continue to collaborate with the public sector in that angle, of course, the resources that are being channeled through GIFEC are all from the private sector, which is because that is our mandate to push that. So we will continue to position ourselves to be able to help in that angle. Government, of course, indirectly reach out to the folks in the rural areas.
So is this something the CEO network could do? Is it possible?
We could look into it and see whether there's an opportunity for CEO network to also partner and push the agenda even more, because I think that once the resources increases, then we can also determine or direct what we feel it should be going into as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to our interesting conversation. And it's been a privilege to have Smart Brains, Wale, Ama, Angela, Selim, and my good friend Emmanuel. Please, if you have any questions in the audience, we'd like to take one or two before we end this interesting insight. There's a question in the back. There's mic coming to you.
Hi, thank you very much for the interesting subject. My name is Matthew Darko. I work for a company called Amalitech. We're a service company as a software house. Now, I just wanted to find out from the CEOs and the panel, Germany has 137,000 missing digital talents. That's Germany alone. Obviously, they're going to start looking at talents that we're developing here. What are we going to do, or what are the advices that you can help us to stop losing the talents to European market, considering that Germany alone is missing 137,000 digital talents?
So if I can rephrase your question, remote work is taking away African talent. What are we going to do to stop that, to prevent that from happening, so that our guys don't get trained here and work for international companies? Did I get your question correct? All right, who's going to take that?
So I think in the phase we are, a developing world, we should be encouraging, because that's where we need more job opportunities. So if Germany is short of 137,000 digital challenges, out of that 50,000 Ghanaians we should be able to export to Germany, and that's the big diaspora we have sending us foreign funding back. So it's a very good thing to happen, and even if it is remote work, which we can do from Ghana, it's great. I know one company coming from the US, they want to set up a 10,000-seater call center in Ghana due to the quality of the Ghanaian workforce, which they came here and they did the survey and they found out that the workforce here is of superior quality. So more and more of such outsourced work we are going to see, and that is good for our country.
So more FX for Ghana, but maybe a more structured approach where we can, add benefit systems and things like that so they don't leave, right? So they could be more useful to us. Any other question? We have 2 more slots for questions. 2 questions. Any more questions? All right, it looks like they understand what we talked about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And I think there's no more panel. Wow. Is there dinner? Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
One group photograph together. Slowly but surely, we're coming to the end of a very inspiring session. It's been a long day, but ladies and gentlemen, let's just brace up for the closing remarks, then we shall call it a day. I promise the next time we'll have a DJ, so we shall do a little dance. We should bring the sax guy. Okay, so when we finish, we'll have a jam. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring up here to close today's event Ghana's Minister for Public Enterprises. Would you please make welcome the Honorable Joseph Kudjo, MP.
Good evening to you all. Like myself, I commend you for having waited up to this point in time. But I think it's been a good day from the information we've all gathered in here. But I must say that the business environment, a quick comment I want to make. The business environment has been as volatile as the speech I was scheduled to make today, because I came here at 10 thinking that I was going to deliver a speech at that time, and then I realized it was 4 o'clock when the program was delivered to me. And then even when I waited to 4 o'clock, it also changed that I should deliver a closing remark. If you operate in such a business environment, then you know the kind of strategic planning you have to be doing to survive. I think that it's been a very good summit from everything, every information I have myself learned in here. Starting from Deloitte and Touche, Dan, the presentation he made, there was a lot of takeaways from the recommendations they made as a knowledge house. And following from that, we saw the president. Other presenters were in, the former president, John Dramani Mahama. delivering what looked to me like a corporate democracy, where he had the opportunity to have managed same economy, but you, the businesses, know the environment that characterizes that economy. But lessons learned, just like any business environment, experience gathered, he come in, profess what he's going to do. But I can tell you as a government, our understanding of the theme for the summit today has been that the sovereign economy is embedded in our own national vision, Ghana Beyond Aid. That is the sovereign economy, or economic sovereignty, if we put it that way. And if you flow from there into the next item on the theme, which is sustainable corporate governance, that is also what has characterized the current president's vision of restructuring oversight of the public enterprise space. We see State Enterprises Commission and Diversity Implementation Committee merged to form SIGA today. That is State Interest and Governance Authority, so that sustainable corporate governance will be delivered into the public enterprise space. And the result has been outstanding. I can account from 2018, when only 18 public enterprises could be reported on, to today's up to 2020, 132 companies can be reported on, and increased compliance in financial reporting. I can say that when it comes to financial reporting, we've seen companies, private enterprises, complying with the Public Financial Management Act and being able to meet February ending account preparation deadline and April ending audited account preparation deadline, which is pretty much like a company listed on the stock market. This has been very good, because if companies do not prepare accounts, audited accounts, I wonder how the companies can be managed properly. And so the public enterprise space, this has been ongoing. Corporate governance, good corporate governance code has been developed and awaiting just cabinet approval for its implementation. So the second item of the theme, sustainable corporate governance issue, we have taken it very, very seriously. Boards are being trained. Personally, I'm engaging CEOs and management on good corporate governance practices, and we're making headway. On the third item of the theme, which is the digital industrial transformation, you and I bear witness that the buzzword around has been digitalization. Digitalization of the public enterprises operations so that they can deliver efficiency and profitability. If you've been set up to make profit, the expectation is that you should be operating profitably and be paying dividend to support government operations. And if you set up not for profit, it is expected that you deliver efficiency. There are some public enterprise entities that are supposed to just deliver service to support the private sector efforts, licensing, permitting, approvals, and so on. And the speed at which they deliver that will impact on your performance as well. And so you would see us pushing for their operations digitalized so that we can deliver the support private sector needs. But on and on, if we look for new paths for growth, which is the thrust of the theme for this summit, new paths for CEO dialogue and learning, it's been interesting. I think this platform itself has delivered that kind of platform. It's unfortunate I couldn't present my speech on what we're doing in the public enterprise space to unlock the potential of the public enterprises, to support the effort of the private sector enterprises, to kind of develop the economic prosperity and economic sovereignty we're all looking for. But I must comment on the last panel, which is the digital effort the country is making. At least we have heard the Vice President saying at Harvard when he delivered a speech there that one thing that has been missing in this economy from independence is the fact that even persons, which are key economic actors, we couldn't identify them uniquely. Properties, which are key factors of production, land, spaces, locations, we couldn't identify. And if you were to take these two unique identifications, driven by digitalization efforts, if you take them out of any advanced economy, you would see the economy's characteristics will just be like ours. They cannot function. So this is the fundamental economic development that is taking place and unfolding under our nose. If we don't do this, all the emerging digital technologies we've talked about here and demonstrated here, AI, blockchain, machine learning, all those are end game. We need a digital infrastructure, the persons that are digitally oriented, schools and persons that are educated and trained to play that role, to be able to take advantage of that emerging digital technologies. So this summit, I must say, has been apt at this point in time of the country's development. And we, in the public enterprise space, are mindful of the potential of public entities taking hold of these technologies and implementing them to support private sector effort. All in all, it's been a good day, and I would, with the permit of all of you and the organizers, I commend Mr. Jill for this awesome organization. Bring this summit to a close. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Ghana's Minister for Public Enterprises, the Honorable Joseph Kudjo MP. And so this is how we bring closure to the 7th edition of the Ghana CU Summit. On behalf of the convener, together with all our partners, I'd like to say a very big thank you to each and every one of you. You've stayed with us to the very end. Please give yourselves a round of applause. It is my hope and prayer that next year, when the odds are in our favor, we will put things together and we shall utilize all the panels and all the resource persons and not leave some hanging. My name is Jerry Ajololo, and I say thank you, goodbye, good night, and Godspeed. Mr. Sachs, let's have a party right about now.
CompuGhana, the leading information technology solution provider in the country, prides on its passion for technology, competent human resource, and a wide variety of stock from the world's best brands are carefully chosen to bring satisfaction to clients.
My name is Kemi. I'm visiting from Nigeria. It's been amazing, friendly staff, nice products, nice ambience, and I'll come back again.
Hi, I'm Ibn Amars. I'm a creative artist. I'm into filmmaking and choreography. In my line of work, I'm always looking for quality in my product. I started shopping with CompuGhana not long ago, and honestly, I've enjoyed the product.
We offer a range of products and services that cater to the needs.
There are few modern-day vehicles, let alone crossovers, that are as iconic as the Nissan Qashqai. How could that be? After all, it's the Qashqai that pioneered the crossover segment back in 2006 and launched a revolution in the automotive world. Now in its third generation, Qashqai is reimagined to again define what the crossover of tomorrow can be today. Exceptional standards of enhanced styling, elevated premium comfort, and a host of exciting driver technologies unlike anything else in the category. Let's take a look at what the next generation of the world's ultimate crossover has to offer. It starts with the exterior, all new, all reimagined, but still unmistakably Qashqai in every way. This crossover has kept its unique, strong identity, but with enhanced styling like never before. Styled to be captivating, the Qashqai's enhanced body stance is one of purpose and readiness. Prominent shoulder lines lead the eye to an enlarged Nissan V-Motion grille. This leads seamlessly into the smart slimline LED signature headlamps. Smart because these automatically prevent you from blinding oncoming cars when your high beams are on. Under the bonnet, you are equipped with an optimized 1.3-liter turbocharged petrol engine producing 110 kilowatts and 250 newton meters of torque with power delivered from as low as 1,600 RPM. This is paired with Nissan's 7-speed Xtronic transmission for instant acceleration and ultra-smooth gear shifts. Even with all that power, fuel consumption is exceptionally low at 5.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Moving along the side of the vehicle, the new Qashqai appears more athletic and dynamic with a unique single fast line that strikes through the vehicle from front to the rear. This feature emphasizes the overall impressive length, but also conveys a sense of premium desirability as attention to detail has been given in unexpected places. The latest generation Qashqai is significantly larger than its predecessors too. There's more glass in the C-pillars for improved visibility. And as a sporty addition to the Qashqai, there's alloy wheels up to 19 inches in size, something usually reserved for upscale premium SUVs. Following a sleek design to the rear, you'll find the signature boomerang LED light configuration, a boot spoiler and discrete privacy glass on the rear window, offering a premium feel. With the boot open, enjoy the best-in-class family-friendly luggage space of 416 liters. That's significant improvement on the already capable previous generation Qashqai. It also features a removable cargo floor for even more space and convenience when you need it. Flexible 60/40 split rear seats are standard and can be configured in different ways for extra cargo loading capacity. Step inside the new Nissan Qashqai and you'll see and feel the luxury finishes throughout. The cabin sets a new segment standard for upmarket premium feel, distinctive design, and intuitive usability. Creating a reassuring and calming environment, new white ambient lighting is used throughout the cabin. There are monofoam-style seats designed for optimum comfort, plus 3 levels of seat massage for the driver and front passenger. The front seats are also heated for added first-class driving experience. For those longer journeys, your passengers at the rear will benefit from generous shoulder and leg room. The roof is all glass too, further adding to a luxurious, roomy feel in the cabin. For added convenience, the rear doors open 85 degrees, making it easier to get in and out. Speaking of easy access, Qashqai spoils you with storage space choices. You have generous storage room in the center armrest, glove box, cup holders, and even enough room for a 1.5-liter bottle in the doors. Once you're settled in the driver's seat, you'll be drawn to the high-definition driver assist screen, which is a full TFT meter display. Here you can control a myriad of driver functions from your steering wheel, like Nissan Intelligent Mobility features and other driver technologies that give you more awareness and confidence when you're on the road. For a sportier drive when you want it, shift gears manually with the paddle shift levers, located behind the multifunction D-shaped steering wheel. Qashqai now offers choice of different drive modes available at the press of a button. These further ensure the safety of you and your passengers under a variety of different driving conditions. Looking for the ignition keyhole or the park brake? Push start stop comes standard. So does one-touch electronic park brake with auto hold. The new Nissan Qashqai excels at seamlessly integrating your smartphone with your vehicle for complete access to all your information and media. Be amazed by the 12.3-inch ultra-high-definition widescreen Nissan Connect infotainment system with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and experience crystal pure sound through the Bose 8-speaker sound system. Stay fully charged with wireless charging, and when multiple devices need to be kept charged, there is a traditional USB Type-A and Type-C charging ports too. Qashqai's legacy is built on SUV-like space and comfort, with a focus on everyday practicality. This includes a non-negotiable attitude towards passenger and driver safety, ensuring that you and your loved ones stay secure and protected. The iconic third-generation Qashqai is striking inside and out, offering exceptional standards of enhanced styling, elevated premium comfort, and a host of exciting driver technologies unlike anything else in the category. It's the ultimate urban crossover reimagined. For more information or to request a demo drive, contact your local Nissan dealer today.
The quiet side of lottery may be found in a classroom where decrepit old roofs once ripped get fixed, and a child finally smiles even as it rains because her education is no longer dependent on the whims of the weather. The quiet side of lottery may be found in a Ghanaian village where a nursing mother's hope for clean water goes from being 10 kilometers away to 10 steps away, all because you dared to care. The quiet side of lottery celebrates arts and culture because if anything fosters national pride, like the glimmer of gold and kente on the rich African skin, it's the confidence of a people steeped in tradition. The quiet side of lottery believes in the dreams of our youth and the endeavors of their hands and minds as the building blocks of our future industries. And with each act, the quiet side of lottery is a continuous promise that all the paths we chart eventually lead to solace in the communities we love and are privileged enough to touch. The quiet side of lottery is the realization that we are the difference we seek to see in this world. And together with other corporate bodies in the country, we can be the answer to so many questions that continue to plague our society. Lottery shines in all its radiance on the Caritas Lottery platform, a platform designed for corporate bodies, organizations, commercial and financial institutions, and well-meaning Ghanaians like you, in collaboration with the NLA. On the Caritas Lottery platform, many organizations, particularly financial institutions, have enhanced their product sales, improved deposit mobilization, and significantly increased their revenue. The quiet side of lottery is only possible because you continuously choose to partner with us.
There are few modern-day vehicles, let alone crossovers, that are as iconic as the Nissan Qashqai. How could that be? After all, it's the Qashqai that pioneered the crossover segment back in 2006 and launched a revolution.
You never know how far one idea will go and who it will impact. Like her family, their community, our planet. At Deloitte, we measure ideas by the impact they'll have. Because why work so hard to find solutions if it doesn't make a difference in people's lives? Why connect, or innovate, or engineer anything if not to make an impact that actually matters? No matter who you are, where you are, or where you're going, Deloitte is there, and there, and even there. We are dedicated to helping people and organizations solve problems, to know faster, to grow farther, to go from red to black to green, creating impact where it matters most. You never know how far